big leaguer Brett Phillips. He's going to be on the show. We're going to play back some of the audio from Chaim Bloom's Zoom yesterday with the media after the Wilson Contreras trade was announced. So that's all going to be coming up tonight from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And Nate, I actually want to start with that, with some of the comments that were made. And I popped on to Rush Hour Sports right at the end of the show yesterday after Chaim wrapped up his media session with us. But a few things struck me, and I wanted to get your thoughts on them, because I don't think we totally know what the 2026 plan is for the Cardinals. We know that they're working really hard to get this team back to a point where it can compete at a very high level in years moving forward. That's not 2026, so sometimes what they're going to do with the roster is a little bit of a question mark. But they add another starting pitcher. They've got a ton of starting pitchers right now. Chaim said yesterday that they are still very much open to adding another veteran starter. I don't know what that would do with the guys that they have there right now, where it's already kind of a lack of competition. Not surprised they want to add a veteran reliever. They really need to add a right-handed bat now, especially with Contreras gone. But it does feel like there is still some focus on 2026 and maybe some shorter-term contracts with some veterans, just to make sure that the thing is not completely off the rails next year.
Maybe I'm going to expose myself here, Matt, as being the less sophisticated baseball mind of the two of us. But I'm going to be honest with you, I really don't care. It makes no difference to me if they sign two middling veteran bats who are and a starting pitcher, so that they can put $30 or $40 million more on the salary cap for this year, not the cap, but on the salary bill for this year and maybe for next year. It makes no difference to me whether they win. If one option is win 70 games this year and one option is win 80, that really makes no difference to me either. I don't see a scenario that this team is especially competitive in 2026, which is okay. That's not a criticism. In fact, I really appreciate that it feels like under the first few months of Chaim Bloom as the sole decision maker at the top of baseball operations, the Cardinals have the clearest plan they've had in a while, in that he is taking very clear actions, even if they are right now dismantling the 2026 roster to a certain degree. They are being done with a clear purpose, and that hasn't always been the case for the Cardinals in recent years. So this is not a criticism whatsoever. I'm very supportive of the direction that Chaim has chosen. I think I would have been supportive of most any direction as long as it was clear and had a long-term vision attached to it. This is the one that probably makes the most sense. But as a result, whether they finish third or fourth or fifth in 2026, whether it's 80 wins or 75 or 70, I just can't get myself worked up about that. And I don't know that Cardinals fans care that much.
See, now I can talk out of both sides of my mouth on this one, and I don't even think that they're completely conflicting with each other, because I essentially agree with everything that you just said. At the same time, they want to get as many people to walk into the ballpark next year. They want the team to still be a compelling product. I'm the guy who's hosting the postgame show after every game, and I'd like to have something fairly interesting to talk about. On it, you can only talk about 2027 and 2028 on a postgame show a certain amount of times. Like you're talking about the game. I do think that I don't think it's going to look much different from last year, and I'm not trying to raise expectations here. My expectation of the 2026 Cardinals is they're a team that kind of flirts with 500 for a while, maybe falls back, maybe makes some trades at the deadline, and they're sort of what they were last year. But is there a scenario where this past season, if things fall a little bit differently, could have the Cardinals been the Reds and been the team that took advantage of the Mets completely falling apart down the stretch? I mean, the Cardinals were a stone's throw away from that happening, so that can happen again. That's not what I'm projecting. That's not even what I want Cardinals fans to even be hoping for, because the likelihood that you would be disappointed in that is pretty high. But I do think there is still some value in making sure that the product doesn't totally tank in 2026.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. And I think I should color the comments that I made with the backdrop that the type of baseball fan that I am is one who is going to go to the ballpark a certain number of times, regardless of whether the Cardinals win 100 games or lose 100 games. Not to say that it doesn't make any difference in my life, or that I don't, there aren't certain things that are compelling about winning 100 games that obviously aren't about losing 100. And I don't think losing 100 is likely for the Cardinals at any point. I would be surprised if this is a team that even flirts with that number, even at the whatever turns out to be the rock bottom year of this rebuild. And I know they don't want to call it a rebuild, but I'm going to call it a rebuild because I can call it what I want, and that's what it is. I love going to the ballpark. I love baseball, and I love being there. And if that means that I'm going to watch Paul Skeens pitch more than I'm going to watch whoever's pitching for the Cardinals, well, there are a lot of markets in Major League Baseball where people are going to see the opponent. Maybe not where they're going to see the Pittsburgh Pirates, but where they're going to see the opponent more so than they are than the home team for quite a number of years. That's rare in St. Louis, but to have a year or two like that, I think there is still plenty of joy to be found in going down to the ballpark 10, 15, 20 times, even in a losing season. That's easy for me to say because I don't have 3 or 4 kids that I've got to pay to bring with me. So I get that. That's different for everybody. But I'm somebody who loves baseball enough that I think I can survive a year or two of a lot of losing if it's ultimately serving the long-term goal that I think should be the long-term goal for all of us here, which is that the Cardinals are getting back to not just competing for and winning National League Central championships, but they're getting back to competing for and winning pennants and World Series. And that should be the goal. And ultimately, if for a team in the market of size of St. Louis and that's spending money at the rate that the Cardinals are right now and seem inclined to do for the foreseeable future, you're just not going to get good without getting bad. Or very, very few teams can get good without getting bad.
Yeah, the question is, have they already been bad, and when does it start to curve back in the other direction? Again, I don't think this is the year where that happens, but I also don't completely rule out that possibility, in some part because of actually the starting pitching, which I think is really an interesting thing. So we'll go ahead and take a break right now. When we come back, I want to specifically talk about Chaim Bloom saying that they could still be looking for more starting pitching, look at who's already here, and try to figure out how that's going to work out, how that impacts 2026, and also why they might be doing what they're doing in terms of 2027, 2028, and beyond. We'll do that next. This is Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
KMOX, celebrating 100 years. Presented by Purina, your pet, our passion. Now, a KMOX pioneer.
Long before modern broadcasting took shape, Franz Laux became the very first full-time play-by-play announcer at KMOX and one of the most influential voices in early American radio. Beginning in the 1920s, Laux brought Cardinals baseball to life with his detailed storytelling that connected fans across the Midwest. His national broadcasts for CBS, including multiple World Series, helped cement KMOX as the home of big league baseball on the radio.
And there goes a drive. Looks like it might be pretty close to the wall. It's taken out there in right field for the third out.
A true pioneer, Franz Laux laid the foundation for every great sports broadcaster who followed and helped build KMOX into the sports voice of St. Louis. Franz Laux, a KMOX pioneer.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-269-3454. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-269-3454 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-269-3454 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-269-3454.
Hey, it's Debbie Monterey, and can you believe it's already the holiday season? While most people are thinking about lights and gift lists, a lot of homeowners are also wondering if now is the right time to sell or if they should wait until the new year. So I'm here with Gloria Liu from Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria, what should sellers be thinking about right now?
Great question. Even during the holidays, serious buyers are still out there, and with fewer homes on the market, sellers actually face less competition. When we get into the new year, listings start to spike and competition rises. But that's never a problem for my clients because I guarantee to sell your home at your price and time frame, or I will buy it myself. Whether you want to move now or after the holidays, we'll make it smooth and stress-free.
That's why Gloria Liu is the trusted choice for St. Louis home sellers. Call 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. From all of us, happy holidays, and here's to your next move being your best one. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, we still got our jam downtown, but it looks like traffic's moving a little bit better westbound on 64. This traffic report's a service of the Sandberg Phoenix Law Firm. We had a crash west of the stadium. It's jammed back past Route 3, almost midway between 3rd Street and Route 3 on westbound 64, so pretty tough traffic there. Westbound 64 on the Missouri side. Hampton headed out through Bellevue, slow. Still some heavy traffic down the hill. Clarkson into the valley. After that, it's really no big deal. Highway K from Feisey, Laura Hill down to 364. A lot of volume both ways. 170 both ways between the Parkway and 64 is busy right now as well. Manchester, Mason out through Baxter, and then out there around New Baldwin, Clarkson. There's a lot of traffic running there. Lindbergh between Mueller and Union Road. Southbound Telegraph south of 255 down through Yeager is pretty backed up. Southbound 55 itself has cleared out from downtown all the way down to Jeffco. So is southbound 270. Westbound Highway 70 looks like it's in great shape, just a little busy at 61. Eastbound 70 is a little slower to City. North 170 from Scudder up through to 270 is off the pace. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Firm. Our attorneys are committed to you, your business, and your community. We are ready to serve you in the areas of business litigation, intellectual property, health law, and products liability. SandbergPhoenix.com. The choice of lawyers and important decisions should not be based solely on advertising.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Back at it on KMOX alongside of Nate Gatter. I'm Matt Pauley. It's great to have you with us as we take you till 6 o'clock, and then that's when the countdown to opening day show is set to get rolling right here on KMOX. Hopefully you'll stay tuned for that as we get you all set for Christmas. Nate, I'm a little confused. I'm not confused, but I'm curious. I'll go with curious. I am curious what starting pitching is going to look like for the Cardinals this year. And again, kind of your point, does it matter that much for this year? But when you look at who the Cardinals have and the moves that have been made, it feels like the for sure spots in the rotation, barring injury, are Dustin May, Matthew Liberatore, Michael McGreevy, and Hunter Dobbins, who they just acquired. So that's 4 guys. They also went out and got Richard Fitz, and I would think he would have every opportunity to make this club. They have talked extensively about stretching Kyle Leahy out and how excited they are about him as a starting pitcher. Andre Palante still around. It feels like in many ways he's kind of an afterthought. And one of the narratives has been that Quinn Matthews would be given every opportunity in the world to make this club out of spring training. I don't know if that's even a thing anymore. So that's how it is right now. And Chaim Bloom yesterday is talking about the fact that they may still go out and add another veteran starting pitcher. They say you can never have too much starting pitching. After the health that they had last year, they are incredibly unlikely to have anything close to that kind of health this year. But that's a lot of guys and not a whole lot of competition right now in the starting rotation.
Yeah, not to sound like I'm just repeating something similar to what I said in the last segment, but I got no interest in a veteran starting pitcher. Like, I want to see those guys pitch. I want to see the younger, projectable guys pitch. That's it. They have enough of those guys already. If they were to have a rash of injuries, a Palante can still be plugged in there. But as you talked about, they've got, 7 or 8 viable starting pitchers as it is, all of whom are under 30 years old, some of them younger than that. I just don't want to block any of those guys from innings. And if that means one of those guys pitches to a 6 ERA over 150 innings this year, fine. Then you don't want him in your plans in 27 or 28 or whatever it is. I don't, the beauty of having a season like what 2026 is going to be for the Cardinals is that you can commit to opportunities for people. You don't have to have those conversations on May 15th of, do we need to bail on this guy because he's he's going to crush our chances at the wild card. Now, to your point, if the Cardinals were to somehow end up in a situation where in August, kind of along the lines of the conversations we were having this year, to be honest, if they were to end up middle of the season or getting into the back third of the season in a situation where they were within striking distance, maybe then you have that conversation, because you don't ever want to just be blasé about an opportunity to make the playoffs, right? But if we assume that it's not going to be that kind of season for the Cardinals, then let's really go all in on getting innings to these guys. Let's not just talk about it. Let's do it, especially because I don't think that giving a bunch of innings to Matthew Liberatore is somehow sacrificing the chance to win games, nor do I think would that be the case giving a bunch of innings to May or to Dobbins or even to some of the guys who you get down to beyond that. I think you can. It's not as though any of these guys are pitchers that are lousy, right? The reason that you're giving them these opportunities is because you think they could be contributors on this team if and when the Cardinals are in a position again to compete. And I want to know exactly what those guys are before that time. And this is an opportunity to learn those things. Plus, let's be honest, with somebody like Dustin May, although I don't think anybody doubts the upside and the stuff that he brings when he's pitching really well, he has not been a durable guy. He has not been an especially healthy guy. So I don't see... Nor really has Hunter Dobbins, to be honest. I mean, he's coming off an injury, so you don't know. Now, it's not an arm injury, so I don't think you worry dramatically about his ability to get through a season coming off a knee injury. But still, you've got guys who have some spots on their injury history. I think Mays projects to be more troublesome going forward in his career probably than Dobbins, so I don't mean to put them in the same bucket completely. But it wouldn't be a surprise at all if 7 different guys or more can start double-digit games for the Cardinals this year, right? I mean, there will be starts out there, so let's get them to those guys. I'm not that worried about the logjam they have right now, but if they start bringing in guys in their 30s just to have them, all of a sudden now you're creating an unproductive logjam.
Yeah, I'm with you, and like Jose Quintana's name has been mentioned. If they go out and bring in Quintana on a 1-year deal, is there value in having a veteran guy in there to help young guys navigate through a season? Okay, but when you weigh that against the value of having another guy starting every 5th day, I think you can make the argument that you just made that there's more value there.
Yeah, hire him as a coach at that point. If you want him that bad, bring him in as a coach.
Yeah, look, we had this conversation 2 years ago when they brought in Matt Carpenter and all these guys about how they needed, a different vibe in the clubhouse. Like, I don't buy that. Bring in players because they perform well or they have some sort of value on the field. It's not the other thing. But they are also in a situation where if Dustin May pitches well and the Cardinals are completely out of it, you're able to spin that off at the deadline, and then all of a sudden you're bringing more talent in. So if some of these signings that they make this year or acquisitions that they make this year do have that underlying thought of, hey, if this guy can perform well, whether it's a pitcher or a position player, and it can result in more talent coming in at the trade deadline, I would not be as averse to that idea.
Do you think it's possible, just based on the names that you rattled off there, the 6 before you get to Quinn Matthews, that they decide to go with a 6-man rotation for substantial stretches of the season just because that's how the roster lines up?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, and I like 6-man rotations for the most part because I think you can get more length out of your starters. The year that Corbin Burns won the Cy Young Award in Milwaukee, they went with a 6-man rotation for the entire year. Burns pitched really deep into games, but he didn't have a ton of innings because he didn't start as many games. They are really worried about overusing pitching this year. Every single time they talk about a relief pitcher, they talk about the idea of having guys in the bullpen that can provide multiple innings. So I wouldn't be shocked if they go to it, but it also can, if all of a sudden you get a few short starts, you can be backed up in the bullpen, especially if you're carrying a Rule 5 guy like they selected. We'll talk more about that coming up in a while. We'll also discuss through our thoughts on the Chiefs staying in Kansas City but moving out of Missouri, and we'll talk some college football beyond that. It's all coming up on this edition of Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
'Tis the season, and Quick Trip is turning your phone into the gift that keeps on giving and giving and giving with QT's Holidays. From now till the end of the season, when you open the QT app, you'll automatically get one free gift per day. We're talking classic QT treats like coffee, pizza, or donuts, ready to make your taste buds sing carols of joy. Plus, exclusive deals from your favorite brands. With a new surprise waiting for you every day, your phone will be stuffed with more treats than your stocking. QT's Holidays. Open the QT app for your daily gift.
This holiday season, when you get them STIHL, batteries are included. Buy select battery tool sets and get a free extra battery. Visit STIHLUSA.com for gift ideas and seasonal savings. Happy holidays from STIHL. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
At 5:30, it is a cloudy sky. Right now, 59 degrees downtown at the Arch. This news update is sponsored by Michael's Flooring Outlet, the flooring experts, michaelsflooringoutlet.com. Highways and airports are busy. Nick Chabaria of AAA's St. Louis office tells MissouriNet more than 122 million people in the U.S. are traveling at least 50 miles this holiday season through New Year's.
The one advantage you have with the year-end holidays, say compared to Thanksgiving like we just experienced, is that travel period is a little bit more spread out, over 2 weeks. So you don't have everybody in the airports, on one or two specific days.
The statewide average for a gallon of regular unleaded gas in Missouri is $2.50, 20 cents lower than compared to 1 year ago. Holiday gatherings also mean winter viruses begin to tick up.
St. Louis County Health Director Dr. Kanika Cunningham says they are seeing an increase in viral infections across the board.
Right now, a lot of the guidance is around all three of the respiratory viruses, so flu, COVID, as well as RSV.
She recommends staying home if you are sick and getting your annual flu and COVID vaccine. Sean Malone, KMOX News.
It can be hard to avoid all the sweets and the rich foods this time of year. Registered dietitian Michelle Wilson of Brands Nutrition says telling yourself to be good and have none of it might backfire.
You might accidentally be a little too strict and have this restrict binge cycle that accidentally happens. So then we see this big pendulation between I'm not going to allow myself to have any of these things. And then your body naturally craves something like carbs, for instance, and then you swing into having a whole bunch of carbs.
Oliver Properties continues to invest in the Washington Avenue corridor of downtown from 10th to 18th Streets. Alex Oliver tells KMOX they've plunked down $120 to $130 million in acquisition and renovation capital.
The built environment was great along Washington Avenue. Historic buildings, they'd already been renovated within the last 20 years. So we're dealing with relatively modern systems and infrastructure, but they've just been kind of gone by the wayside. People weren't reinvesting in them for almost 20 years, and certainly not for the last 5.
Oliver says the interest in their affordable apartments has been tremendous, placing a new tenant every other day for about 18 months, and he expects their big food hall on Washington Avenue to open next summer. From the Salika Heating and Cooling Weather Center for tonight, lots of clouds. Overnight low 44 degrees. For tomorrow, could have some spotty drizzle, otherwise just cloudy, high 65. Christmas Eve night, a few sprinkles, low 55. And Christmas Day, we've got some clouds, a little bit of sun, mild with a high of 68 degrees. Right now, downtown at the Arch, we've got clouds at 59. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Hey, Missouri, if you haven't heard by now, FanDuel Sportsbook is live here in the Show Me State, and they're kicking things off with an offer that is really tough to beat. So right now, new customers can bet $5 and then get $300 in bonus bets. Whether you win or lose that initial $5 bet, you get those $300 bonus bets either direction. And it doesn't matter what you're choosing. Whether it's football, basketball, hockey, you can bet it all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use. I've been on it since the app launched years ago. I just couldn't play in Missouri until now. Now I get to, and you can do. So download FanDuel today or head to FanDuel.com/Missouri to join in on the excitement, because Missouri, it's time to play your game with FanDuel. Remember, 21 and older and present in Missouri. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit is required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com.
It's easy to feel apprehensive about getting screened for cancer or to just keep putting it off. But Siteman Cancer Center wants to remind you how important it is, especially after the age of 40, and they also want you to know how easy it is to get it done. GetScreenedNow.com has all the information you need on cancers like prostate, breast, colon, lung cancer. You can also find out your risk of disease by answering just a few simple questions. And then you can find one of the hundreds of screening locations in the area. Even if you're a little farther out, there is probably a place near you. You have heard this before, but catching cancer early dramatically increases the odds of a successful treatment, especially with so many cancers showing up earlier in life. So do not be intimidated. Siteman will make the process as simple as possible. GetScreenedNow.com. Do it for your family and friends who count on you. Do it for yourself. Visit GetScreenedNow.com.
A KFC tale in the pursuit of flavor. The holidays were tricky for the Colonel. He loved people, but he also loved peace and quiet. So he cooked up KFC's $4.99 chicken pot pie. Warm, flaky, with savory sauce and vegetables. It's a tender chicken-filled excuse to get some time to yourself and step away from decking the halls, whatever that means. The Colonel lived so we could chicken. KFC's Chicken Pot Pie, the best $4.99 you'll spend this season.
Prices and participation may vary while supplies last. Taxes, tips, and fees extra.
Selling your home, it's one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. You could go it alone, trying to navigate market trends, determine fair pricing, and tackle tricky negotiations on your own. You could second-guess every decision, wondering if you're doing it right. Then there's the showings, the offers, and the mountain of paperwork. Or you could work with the expertise of a Realtor, here to guide and help protect as you make your next big move. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. Right by you.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9834. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9834. That's 800-575-9834. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
At Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, every moment with our patients is a gift. Thanks to supporters like you, children have hope as they fight serious illness and reach incredible milestones. Please donate today at treeofhope.org.
How many of you think taxes will go up in the future? And if they do, who will get hit the hardest? Maybe it's you, headed for retirement. You've been saving in that 401k or IRA for years, and that money has never been taxed. And Uncle Sam is looking at that account like it's a big, juicy steak. What can you do about it? Join the All Financial Group for their Taxes in Retirement Seminar, Thursday, January 22nd or Tuesday the 27th. They believe a financial plan is not a retirement plan without a tax plan. Reserve your spot today by calling 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents nor representatives may offer tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with their qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
Attention! Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-848-2299. 800-848-2299. Again, that's 800-848-2299.
Working full-time but still falling behind? Learn how real estate education can help you build income and get ahead on your terms. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, they cleared the crash we had westbound 64 near the ballpark. Westbound 64 still has a bit of a jam, Route 3 getting onto the Poplar Street Bridge, but then it dissipates pretty quickly after that. It's still slow west of Hampton, headed out through Big Bend, and that's it. After that, it looks pretty good. Now, the ramps leading on to South 270, east and westbound 64 are backed up because of a crash at the end of the ramp. So westbound, the right lanes are backed up at Ballas. Eastbound, they're about midway back to Mason at this time. A lot of volume on Manchester in spots. Mason all the way out to Clarkson, just heavy stretches, never really a solid jam. Highway K looks a little busier than that, though. South of Laurel Hill, Feisey, both directions down to 364, pretty tough going. South 170, Bogstown and Brentwood, eastbound 64 backed up through that Interbelt area. Lindbergh, south of Mueller, down through Lee May Ferry is a little busy, not as bad as other places. Looks like a lot of folks are heading to Our Lady of the Snow Shrine. Eastbound 15's backed up almost to 255 right now, headed that way. I'm Roger Brand in the Michaels Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
Sponsored by Telly Tire and Auto Centers. Take it to Telly.
One little light can stall out your entire day, the check engine light. So I reached out to my go-to problem solver. Dad, what do? He didn't miss a beat. Take it to Telly, he said. So I did. But they didn't just fix my car, they fixed my day. Take it to Telly.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It is Rush Hour Sports here on KMOX alongside of Nate Gatter. I'm Matt Pauley. Great to have you with us. We take you for another 20 minutes, and then we've got the Countdown to Opening Day show this week on a Tuesday. We'll do that next week as well, with it being holiday weeks, not having it on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. We'll do it tonight. And again, Mike Claiborne and myself will have you for that coming up in just a little while. We're going to move away from the baseball talk for just a bit. We found out yesterday, Nate, that the Kansas City Chiefs would be moving across state lines, a very interesting situation where they're not moving cities, but they are moving states. So in many ways, that actually, I feel like, has an impact on St. Louis more than it has an impact on Kansas City, unless you live in like Blue Springs, where it was a 5-minute drive to Arrowhead, and now you're going to have to drive 35 minutes to get over to the other side of Kansas City. I talked about this with Rachel Zimmerman a little bit last hour. I'm interested to get your thoughts. St. Louis has largely become part of Chiefs Kingdom after the Rams left. There are a lot of people who really dislike the NFL and dislike Kansas City and have taken offense to that. But you walk into any store on a Sunday afternoon, you're going to see a lot of people wearing Chiefs gear. The TV ratings, the radio ratings, everything for it shows that there's a ton of Chiefs fans. I think people were able to rationalize it as, well, that's the team in this state and the other side of the state. I'm really curious to see if the move to Kansas is going to have an impact on St. Louis Chiefs fans.
Matt, I don't want to discredit any Chiefs fans in the St. Louis area who have been Chiefs fans for a long time, but I suspect that the Chiefs missing the playoffs and potentially this Chiefs roster getting into sketchy territory over the next few years as they try to manage the cap is going to do a lot more to contribute to a decline in Chiefs fandom in St. Louis than moving a few miles over a state border. I think people can find a way to rationalize whatever they want, but I think a losing record turns TVs off a lot quicker than a move across state lines.
You might be right. I don't have like an opinion on this because I guess I don't totally understand the motivation. I like the Chiefs. Like I always, when people are critical of St. Louis sports fans who are also Chiefs fans, I always defend the St. Louis sports fans. The Rams left. You had to find a team, and it just so happened the team on the other side of the state was really, really good. So to your point, if they're not really, really good, are they still your team? I don't know. I mean, this is a good football market. We all know that. This is a market that supported NFL football, would continue to support NFL football if given a team and had ownership. That was not what the Cronkies were doing. There's people in St. Louis that want to support a team, and it's turned into the Chiefs. And I don't know if all of a sudden, if they start losing more games and aren't a playoff qualifier every year, if, to your point, if that's going to turn people off, or if the decisions have already been made and it's going to have to create another inflection point to change fandom. And my question is them moving out of the state of Missouri another inflection point? I get the sense from you that you don't feel like fans in St. Louis actually care whether they're in the state of Missouri or the state of Kansas.
No, certainly I don't think they really do. I'll say this. This is in no way a defense of Stan Kroenke or anything that he did here in St. Louis, but I think the one good thing that you can say about Stan Kroenke as an NFL owner and as the owner of the Rams is that at least when he went to Los Angeles, he built the damn thing with his own money. He didn't go out there and beg, right? The Broncos, they're not begging for money for their new stadium. For the Hunt family, given the amount of money that they have, the amount of equity that they have in the Chiefs, relative to the financial situation of the middle class in this country and their average fan, to ask for this much money, shame on them. And for the state of Kansas to give it to them, even more shame on them. Almost $2 billion, and the Chiefs get to keep all the revenue? I mean, all we're doing here is the same thing that any owner will do if they can get away with it, which is privatize their profit and socialize their cost. And the state of Kansas is going to devote damn near 1% of their GDP to bribing the Chiefs to move across state lines. And you know what? When people come in to see the Chiefs from out of town, they're going to fly into Kansas City's airport, which is still in Missouri. They're going to stay in the best hotels in downtown Kansas City, which is still in Missouri. They're going to eat at the best restaurants in Kansas City, which are still in Missouri. It's a total waste. Is Kansas going to make a little bit of money off of this? Yeah. But the vast majority of that profit is going to go straight into the pockets of the Chiefs owners and not back to the Kansas taxpayers who are going to foot the bill. It's just a bad deal. It's a bad, bad deal, same as all of these are. And you know what? St. Louisans didn't fall for that because St. Louisans took the risk when MLS was dancing with St. Louis for the first time. This was, 10 years ago. St. Louis voters said, no, we're not going to subsidize a stadium plan when you have another option over here to pay for it on your own. And it almost cost St. Louis MLS. The league was acting like it might have cost St. Louis MLS at the time. I think we all knew that this was a desirable enough market that we had more leverage than the league wanted us to believe, than potential owners wanted us to believe. And the Kindle family came along, and they said, turns out, if you're billionaires, you can't afford to build your own stadium, especially when you're going to make your own money off of it. They footed a much bigger expansion fee than it would have been 10 years ago, and they paid to build a stadium that has been a boon for downtown West because St. Louis taxpayers didn't have to subsidize it. And I wish that more taxpayers understood the leverage that they had. Where are the Chiefs going to go? In the middle of all this, they're going to leave Kansas City? They're going to move halfway across the country in the middle of this run? Absolutely, they're not going to do that. Now, do I understand why Kansas wanted to compete with Missouri and wanted to try to draw the team there? Of course. But they did not have to do it to the tune of almost $2 billion. They could have held out for a much, much better deal for their taxpayers, and I think it's a shame that they didn't.
So for folks that don't know, there's a guy on social media. His name is Joe Pompliano. He does social media stuff. He sent out a tweet today. He went through the term sheet. So I read from his tweet. It says, Kansas is essentially giving the Chiefs $3 billion between stadium funding, mixed-use development funding, and tax incentives, yet the state is getting nothing in return. The Chiefs get to keep 100% of revenue from all stadium activities, including ticket sales, concessions, sponsorships, naming rights deals, PSLs, and more that applies to NFL games and all other events that happen in the venue. Kansas is going to own the stadium. The Chiefs are going to pay $7 million in rent annually.
That's the best part.
But the money doesn't go back to the state. It goes into an account that the Chiefs can then use for renovations, repairs, and operational expenses. So that money just stays with the Chiefs basically for stadium upgrades.
And operational expenses, by the way, could be almost anything. I mean, that's like if I charged you rent, but I said, actually, you can use that rent money is really just going to go into another bank account that you control, and you can use that to, pay for upgrades to my house if you want, but you could also use it to, pay for a cleaner to come to your house every week, or get your dry cleaning done, or wash your car, or buy Christmas presents for your kids. So that rent's really not, it's just mandatory savings rate at that point. They basically got an allowance plan for the Chiefs to the tune of $7 million a year.
Yeah, so stadium security, parking staff, concessions vendors, they could all come out of that money, which is wild. And then another part of this that has come out here just over the last few moments, because there's a large swath of land where the tax money is going to be coming out of. There's other areas where they're trying to figure out how they can contribute. And one of the there was a memo that was put out that said Wyandotte County and the city of Olathe officials now have the opportunity, Nate, to approve an ordinance to pledge local incremental general sales tax within the Star Bond project area to the project. State and local officials will be engaging in public in these communities to showcase the exciting benefits that this project brings. So they're going to be asking for even more money from other communities inside of the Kansas City, Kansas area.
Hey, you've got the opportunity to pay for billionaires to make even more money, which they will not share with you when the time comes. I mean, that's a great pitch. The other thing I will say, and this is totally separate from the conversation about who's paying for it. This is an aesthetic thing that is much less important in the broad policy scheme, but I think is nonetheless worth talking about from a fan standpoint. Although I understand the appeal, I think it is a real shame that we are probably 2 decades away at most from almost every team in the NFL having some version of the exact same stadium that they play in, which is just some version of SoFi, pretty much. And I get the appeal. I do. Buffalo's making an effort to try to do something that's a little bit different. But how far are we away from Lambeau Field being the only outdoor stadium left in the NFL? And hopefully that doesn't go the wrong way too. I'd be surprised if it does. I'll say this. I called the Bears-Packers game at Soldier Field on Saturday night. And that rivalry in that environment, Soldier Field is far from the nicest stadium in the NFL. But I was with Ryan Leaf, he was my analyst, and he was walking down on the field, and he came before the game, and he came back up to the booth, and he said, I get what people say about Soldier Field. I get why my wife's favorite stadium is SoFi, because it's convenient and clean and beautiful. As a player, as somebody who really loves football, too, even if you were never a football player, let alone at the top level, there's a feeling that big games, especially big games between historic Midwestern rivals like the Bears and the Packers, should be played on a gridiron environment like Soldier Field. Imagine every NFL Films video you watched as a kid if all those games were played at SoFi Stadium. Imagine that. How does it affect that? Imagine if the ice ball was played inside. How does that change the narrative of that game? It's just one of another many great competitive games in the history of the NFL. It doesn't stand out on its own in a way that is unique and gives it a name that makes it last for generations, right? We are homogenizing the sport.
That's Nate Gatter. I'm Matt Pauley. We'll take a break and we'll wrap up the show in just a moment here on KMOX.
Traffic from the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
Well, eastbound 30 is completely shut down at Highway Double P right now in High Ridge because of an injury crash, and they just dispatched an additional ambulance to the scene. Highway K between Laurel Hill, Feisey, and 364, still a lot of congestion there. Eastbound Highway 70 is bogged down east of 370, pockets of stop and go in towards Zumbo because of a recent incident. Eastbound 64 backed up at the Interbelt. South 170 delays at Brentwood, and Manchester Road still kind of busy around 141 and west of New Baldwin out toward Clarkson, a little congestion around there. And eastbound 15, 157 to Our Lady of the Snows, you've got delays. I'm Roger Brand at the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
This Christmas, get a bonus AI Essentials course when you enroll in any My Computer Career IT program by the end of the year. That's a $3,900 value. Attend classes online or on campus. Enjoy lifetime job placement support and IT certifications in high demand. Go to mycomputercareer.edu today and take the free career evaluation. That's mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Conditions apply to AI offer and financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
Thank you, St. Louis, for making Genesis of St. Charles the #1 Genesis dealer in Missouri for 2025. We know your time is valuable. That's why every purchase comes with 3 years of complimentary Genesis service valet. Unlock your e-price and save. That means complimentary vehicle pickup and delivery, plus a loaner vehicle at no additional cost. Or want something new? We'll bring the test drive to you. Visit GenesisofSt. Charles.com during the Genesis Signature Event. Based on GMA sales records for 2024. See dealer for details.
At Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, every moment with our patients is a gift. This holiday season, you can be the reason children have hope as they fight serious illness and reach milestones once thought impossible. Your gift provides life-saving care to those who need it most. Please donate today at treeofhope.org and be the reason a child has hope for tomorrow.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
Just a couple minutes left on this edition of Rush Hour Sports. We'll get to, we've got tonight, it's countdown to opening day. Mike Claiborne and myself will have you at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Nate Gatter is alongside. Nate, I always try to get some Mizzou stuff in when you're in. So just over the next moment or so, do you like the hiring of Chip Lindsey as the new offensive coordinator for Mizzou football?
I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think I'm almost always in favor of hiring a coach on the ascension. I think for Missouri to win a national championship, even to make the playoff, but certainly to win the national championship, which is the goal, even if it's out there, you're going to have to catch lightning in a bottle, and you're unlikely to catch that from a guy who, I don't want to say cast off, that's a little bit unfair, but from a guy who's been at the highest level of the sport and hasn't succeeded at the national championship level.
Interesting. His coaching tree intrigued the various individuals he's worked with in his career. That's probably the most intriguing part of it for me.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad hire. Don't get me wrong, and I don't think he's dramatically worse than Kirby Moore or anything like that. But I think I'm always in favor of taking a bigger swing at somebody who's a little less proven.
That's Nate Gatter. I'm Matt Pauley. Nate, always enjoy working with you. Have a very Merry Christmas, and hope to talk to you again real soon.
You too, buddy.
All right, that's Nate Gatter. Up next, it is the Countdown to Opening Day show. Don't go anywhere. It's on the way next, right here on KMOX.
Diabetes, high blood